G'day guys, ZiggyD here. Path of Exile's patch 1.0.1 released yesterday, and you guys know what that means. It's time to look at some new unique items. One of my favorite parts of each new patch, but I don't know how people find this so quickly. It's been less than 24 hours and all 4 have already been found. So let's jump into it. These are all Diamond supporter created uniques this week as well, so pretty interesting stuff, but you guys will see it in a second. First up, we have a Prismatic Eclipse Twilight Blade. A raging Lunaris seared and contorted the orb's surface. A despairing Lunaris filled these scars with her tears. Yet Verity remained, trapped within, forevermore. So, this one's pretty crazy, and it's spawning a lot of interesting rumors and talk of white roa feathers and albino roa feathers and recipes and all this sort of stuff. But let's take a look at it. 10% additional chance to block when dual wielding, which is pretty nice buff to dual wielding characters, and this lends itself to being dual wielded as well because its base damage isn't incredibly high, but it's something you could potentially use at endgame still. It has some increased physical damage to keep it up a little bit more competitive for a 6 to 122 at 20 quality with 1.3 attack speed. Definitely not a hugely powerful endgame item in terms of damage, but let's look at some of the other stats. 25% increased physical damage with weapons per red socket. Now this has been confirmed that this only works with the sockets on the item. You can get 3 sockets on a one-handed item, so that's 75% increased physical damage with any weapon. So, as I said, this lends itself towards being dual-wielded. You have this in your offhand, you use something like double strike is the one that uses your main hand, and you gain extra 75% physical damage on your main hand weapon there. The next one is gain 12% increased global attack speed per green socket. Again, this is global attack speed, and this actually means it's going to be a really good item for leap slamming around and stuff as well. And again, only on the weapon itself, so you can have up to 3 green sockets for 12, 24, 36, 36% increased attack speed. And then 2% of physical attack damage leached as mana per blue socket. Sometimes it's pretty hard to get mana leech on your build, and this is a 6% if you're going to have all blue sockets. And of course, you can mix any of these 3 things together, have one red, one blue, one green, and get a mixed benefit towards your build. So you can kind of tailor the stats that you're getting from this weapon towards your build, which is pretty interesting and pretty cool. I really like the design of this item. But here's the final stat. +2 to melee weapon range, okay, per white socket. How do you get white sockets in an item? You can't chromatic it. So, since this has to be on the weapon and it's not on any other gear, that rules out things like using Tabula Rasa to get 6 white sockets. It doesn't work with that. It only works on this weapon. So people are thinking there must be some vendor recipe that gives you white sockets on an item. So people are going crazy trying to figure this out. I know a lot of people are buying albino roa feathers to try and use that, but so far no luck with that. I think that would be a pretty ultimate troll if that happened, and I don't think it involves the albino roa feather. But we'll see what happens. It's been over 24 hours now, and around 24 hours, and no one's found it out yet. It might take a while to find out. It's a pretty tricky one, but a lot of people are going to be trying all combinations of items and this item to try and find out if there's a way to use a vendor recipe to put white sockets on an item, because otherwise how else do you do it? Can it maybe drop with white sockets? I don't know. But let's talk about this theoretically. If you theoretically can get 3 white sockets on this item, you can get +6 melee weapon range. You can get another +2 from the tree, and there's another +2 from another unique item. I believe it's an amulet. That's huge, a huge amount of increased melee weapon range. You're going to be double striking things with it's going to look crazy. There's going to be like a massive gap between your character and the creature you're double striking. It'll look like you're kind of blowing air at them or something like that, which will kind of be pretty cool. Kind of anime-like, swing your sword, a slice of air goes and slices the enemy. You're going to have insane rage. It's going to work well with Cyclone and things like that. But we need to discover how to use this white item. So this is a really nice offhand sort of weapon you can use to combine with other sorts of weapons and different skills and things like that. You can tailor your stats, but I'm really curious to see what ends up happening with this whole white socket business here. Pretty crazy and interesting stuff. Props to the designer of this item. I wonder if they know, or if GGG has kept it secret even from them. So, the next item we have is Crown of Eyes, Hubris Circlet. So this is a high level item, level 69, probably only drops in endgame maps, not entirely sure yet, but this was the last one to be found because it is clearly the rarest item of all of them. Now, this one's a real game changer as well. This has some pretty big implications for the game. It's got some accuracy, so you'll see as we move forwards, it's tailored towards melee attackers, or just attackers in general, actually, because it's an accuracy item. 126% increased energy shield. Okay, that's an okay-ish amount for a helmet there. Pretty okay. It's not a huge drawback or anything in this item. Minus 30 fire resist is a pretty big drawback though, and you'll see soon why that's on there. It's to make it much harder to go righteous fire with this item. 3% of physical attack damage leached as life, and 2% of physical attack damage leached as mana. You know, on an ES helmet, this is interesting. We're kind of leaning itself towards a CI character, CI melee or a bow character, and it's pretty hard to get life and mana leech sometimes, and on a helmet, it's a pretty interesting slot to get that on. But here's the really big one. Modifiers to spell damage also apply to attack damage. This opens up so many possibilities now. Firstly, it's going to work really well for wanders, because wanders who use their wand as an actual attack can now benefit from spell damage mods on the passive tree. There's tons of them there that they weren't able to access before or weren't able to benefit from before. They can now use those. There's spell damage modifiers on the actual wands themselves, so it's going to make it heaps easier to gear wands. Pricing wands is going to be really hard now, because we're going to see like physical increased wands with also spell damage. Hey, this could actually be used by someone wearing Crown of Eyes. It's actually going to be a sick wand, whereas before it's just like, these stats don't go well together. It's also going to be a really good item for people who want to do like cast on crit, because they're going to be able to benefit from both the spell damage and the attack damage. So say using like a bow with high crit chance, proccing EK, they're going to benefit from both the spell damage and the attack damage, dealing a ton of damage. And they can run this on an ES character or something like that. It also means they can benefit from low life benefits, pain attunement, righteous fire, all of that sort of thing. Although the minus fire resist is to make that righteous fire a little bit harder. But with the new fire aura put in the game, purity of fire, I believe that's still going to be pretty possible. So this is a real game changer and a really interesting and powerful item. Kind of seems a little OP. We'll see how it plays out. But I didn't actually read the flavor text. Turning, gazing, blinking, behold the eyes of the void. Burning, raising, drinking, your mind is destroyed. Sick. And check out the art for the item. It's so cool. Just like all these eyeballs like stuck into this golden bloody crown. Pretty sick item. Anyway, next one up is Doedre's Elixir, Greater Mana Flask. So it's only a low level, level 18 Mana Flask. Removes 20% of your maximum energy shield on use. Ouch. You take 10% of your maximum life as chaos damage on use. Ouch. Now, the second one there is chaos damage, so that's pretty important to notice actually, because if you max out your chaos resist, you're only going to take a small fraction of that. So this is pretty viable to use on a pure life character with maxed out chaos resist, without taking too much actual damage to your character. So that's an interesting way to build for this item. But here's what you actually get in exchange for hurting yourself. So this is like a kind of like a poison that you drink that gives you power. Kind of cool, I like it thematically. You gain a power charge on use, you gain a frenzy charge on use, and you gain an endurance charge on use. Yes, this is going to work very well for discharges. I also think it has some pretty cool applications for people playing conduit support builds. So you can just kind of like, use this, kill a few mobs, get some charges back, use it again. You can probably, if you've got good enough clear speed with your group, pop this often enough to keep everyone's charges up at max. Everyone's going to have, max all charges, which is really, really cool. And, you're running conduit, you're going to give them to everyone else. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Now, you only get one use per filled up version of the flask, because it consumes 37 out of 40. But as I said, killing pretty quickly, you should be able to fill this back up. I think it'll also have some interesting other applications, as I said, with life-based high chaos resist builds, using this for some reason to get power or frenzy charges they couldn't normally get very easily, because it's pretty hard to get things like power charges on certain builds. So this will help out and ease that burden. It's a pretty interesting item, but I can't really foresee yet other ways that it can be used besides by discharges and conduit builds, but I'm sure they're out there. So next up, final item, Dune Cuebiyari. Now, I'm pretty sure, actually no, I'm 100% sure that this item was created by Morse specifically for his Iron Will Freeze Pulse tank. He basically created a character that gets as much strength on the passive tree, almost all of the strength on the passive tree, and tons of strength on gear, and uses the Iron Wheel support gem to deal tons of damage with Freeze Pulse, and also be super tanky. Now, this item was created by him for that build, and let's take a look at it. Plus 66 to strength. Huge amount of strength on a weapon here. Pretty nice stuff. Increased cast speed, pretty nice. It's also got the base implicit elemental damage since it is a Sceptre. We also get some extra mana, and gems in this item are supported by a level 30 Iron Will. Now, at level 30, Iron Will increases your attack speed by 10%, whereas Iron Will usually decreases it by, a certain amount, and as you level it up, that amount becomes lesser. So you're actually getting a total of 27% increased cast speed, which is actually really, really high. Now, here's the interesting stuff. 1% increased damage, so that applies to everything, just damage, per 8 strength when in the main hand. Stacking a lot of strength, that's a lot of extra damage. 1% increased armor per 16 strength when in offhand. You could definitely go about dual wielding this and use this in places of a shield, also getting a ton of extra cast speed and strength. So very powerful to potentially dual wield, but even as just your main hand, you're going to get a ton of extra damage. Now, I suspect, I don't know fully yet what Morse plans on doing with this, but you could use this as something like your single target freeze pulse, or you could use this just with freeze pulse, have a smaller amount of links. The fact that it's only a 3 link with Iron Will, making it a 4 link is a little bit of a drawback, I guess. It makes it a bit harder to plan around. So I'll be interested to see how he plans on using it and how other people use it. But still a very potentially powerful item with a lot of synergy for high strength based spellcasters. And I've heard people calling this basically the Pillar of the Caged God for spellcasters, and I think that's pretty adequate assessment of the item. So, very cool stuff. Dune Cuebiyari, the strength freeze pulse character, gonna work with tons of other spells and things like that as well. We've got the Prismatic Eclipse, where we still have yet to discover the white socket secret, and hopefully we'll discover that soon, because I'm pretty interested to find out. And Crown of Eyes, the game-changing Hubris Circlet there. It's gonna be so powerful for attack-based builds and synergize well with cast on crit and things like that. And Doedre's Elixir, which I think is going to have some interesting applications in certain builds. So, that's it for the uniques, but I just wanted to take a second to say, I just reached 20,000 subscribers. Holy... that is more than 5,000 subscribers in 1 month. Now, this is not just a sign of, that you guys are really enjoying my content. It's amazing. The amount of people that have been talking about my content, sharing it with their friends and stuff, has been super exciting and super awesome to see all you guys go out there and spread the word. And I don't know, it just blows me away every day, the amount of messages and stuff I'm getting. It's really amazing. But it's also a huge sign of how well Path of Exile is doing, which I'm really excited about, because I want this game to be around and I want it to be huge for like the next decade. I expect to be playing this game for the next 10 years. And Grinding Geek Games have already laid out their plan for the next decade. Like, this game is going to be around for a long time, and it's going to get sicker and sicker over time. This 1.0.0 patch was probably the best time I've ever had with Path of Exile. It's always been a really good game, but the developers have turned it up a notch, and so many new people coming to the game, like over 5,000 just to my subscriber base. That's only a small fraction of the people that are actually checking this game out. And wow. It's pretty crazy. But not to mention, this has been a huge boost to me for doing this for a living. I've almost tripled my current views per day. That'll probably go down a bit, but this is a huge increase for me, making me so much more stable in doing this, and I can really don't have to stress now that I'm right on the edge of, bankruptcy of trying to do something like this. I can actually do this and just focus on it, knowing that it is something I can do and be successful, and that it is viable. And more importantly, also, I'm tearing up a little bit, but more importantly, it's also going to mean that, with all of this growth, it's going to be so much easier for us to move into a new house, get onto the national broadband network here in Australia, get better internet, and start streaming, which is something I really want to do. I want to be able to interact and play with you guys live, answer questions live. I love getting messages and answering them, but it would be so good to be able to just talk to you guys whenever you send me messages on screen, play some maps, help people out, run, create new builds with people. So much fun. I'm really going to look forward to that. And my little taste of streaming I had a while back, streaming the Alpha Passive Tree, was really got me hooked. And so far I've been living vicariously through other people's streams, but I want to get that happening for myself, and I want to keep bringing you guys sick content. So thank you so much for sharing everything around and getting me to this point, because you guys have been going crazy sharing it around and supporting me like that. Thanks. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.